The Life Coaching Toolbox is brought to you by Transformation Academy, a leading life coach training organization with nearly 1 million students from around the world. Develop skills and confidence through bite-sized coaching insights and processes. Visit transformationacademy.com to learn more.
Have you ever noticed how even the best coaches sometimes feel foggy after a session? Like, something important just happened, but you're not quite sure what it was. Or maybe your client has a major breakthrough, and 2 weeks later, they're right back where they started. What if I told you there's one practice that could make you more grounded, more effective, and way more insightful as a coach? And it doesn't require any fancy certifications, apps, or new frameworks. Today, we're talking about journaling and reflection exercises. Yep, that thing you've probably recommended to your clients a dozen times, but might not be using to your full advantage. But don't let the simplicity fool you. This practice is like a mirror for your coaching, one that can sharpen your awareness, amplify your client results, and keep you evolving long after the training wheels come off. We'll break down 5 powerful ways to use journaling for both you and your clients, from post-session reflections that boost your skills to weekly rituals that build long-term momentum. And I'll be honest, if you use even one of these tools consistently, it could completely change how you coach. Let's dig in. Let's start with a habit that's so simple, most coaches overlook it, and so powerful, it can quietly become your most effective growth tool. I call it the coach's self-reflection journal. And no, this isn't just about writing down how your day went or venting about a difficult client. This is a targeted post-session ritual that helps you evolve, week by week, client by client, into a more present, more intuitive, and more masterful coach. Here's what I mean. After a session ends, your brain is still buzzing. You're thinking about what clicked, what missed the mark, how your client responded, what came up for you emotionally, what you wish you'd said differently, and maybe even what you're still carrying with you. Now, if you don't process all that, it just swirls. And worse, those patterns that aren't serving you, they stick. But when you pause and reflect intentionally, that's when the magic happens. Here's how to make that happen. Right after a coaching session, give yourself just 5 minutes. That's it. Open your journal or a notes app if you're techie, and answer a few focused questions. What went well in this session? Where did I feel most in flow? Where did I feel stuck, drained, or uncertain? What did I learn about my client and about myself? These aren't just feel-good reflections. They're strategic awareness builders. They help you spot coaching patterns, uncover blind spots, and notice the subtle shifts in your client's journey and your own mindset. Let's bring this to life with a fictional coach. Let's call her Maya. Maya's a few years into her practice. Confident, skilled, great rapport with her clients. But she starts to notice that some sessions feel heavy, like she's doing more of the work than the client is. So she starts journaling. Nothing fancy. Just a few questions after each session. 2 weeks in, she sees a pattern. Whenever a client struggles to articulate their thoughts, Maya jumps in, fills the silence, starts over explaining. And in trying to be helpful, she's actually short-circuiting the client's insight process. Boom. That one realization, it shifts everything. She experiments with longer pauses, asks more curious, open-ended questions, lets her clients wrestle a little. And the results? More breakthroughs, more clarity, and bonus. Why does this work so well? Because reflection slows you down. It takes you from reactive to intentional. It transforms your, I hope that session was good, into, here's what worked, and here's what I'll refine next time. And that builds something priceless: self-trust. You're no longer coaching on autopilot. You're coaching with awareness. And let me add a little coach confession here. There was a time when I would mentally replay sessions all day, but never write anything down. I'd think, oh, I'll remember that insight later. Spoiler alert, I didn't. And the insights that could have helped me grow faster, they slipped through the cracks. Once I started journaling, even just briefly, I became a better coach, period. So here's your action step. Create your own post-session journaling template. Keep it simple, just 3 to 5 questions. Write them on a sticky note, save them in a doc, tattoo them on your hand, kidding mostly. Then make it a habit. After every session, reflect, even if it's messy, even if you're tired. Because over time, those 5 minutes become a superpower. They'll help you show up clearer, more confident, and more connected to your clients and to yourself. All right, ready to turn the spotlight toward your clients? Let's explore the next tool one that helps clients generate breakthroughs even when they're not on the call with you. Let's talk about a tool that can quietly revolutionize your coaching between sessions: client journaling prompts. This one's especially useful when you notice your client doing the classic "I've been thinking about it all week, but I still don't know" dance. You know, the one where they circle the same issue session after session, and despite all their insights, they're still spinning their wheels. That's where journaling comes in, not as homework, but as a self-coaching practice. And here's the key: it has to be intentional. You're not just saying, go journal about it. You're giving them guided prompts that help them think differently, process more deeply, and come to your next session ready to go deeper. Let's break this down. Think of journaling prompts like bite-sized coaching questions. You're extending the session beyond the Zoom call and into their real life. When crafted well, these prompts help clients spot their own patterns, interrupt autopilot thinking, and start generating their own solutions. Here are a few examples that hit that sweet spot. Open-ended enough to explore, but focused enough to spark insight. What's one moment this week that triggered a strong emotion? And what did I learn from it? What am I avoiding right now, and what might it be costing me? What belief came up for me this week that might be holding me back? What am I proud of from the past 7 days? Each one is designed to meet your client where they are emotionally, mentally, behaviorally, and invite them to go just one layer deeper. Let's look at a fictional but all too familiar scenario. You're coaching a client named Sam, brilliant, talented, but stuck in a loop of imposter syndrome. He keeps telling you he's not ready for the opportunities coming his way. You give him a journaling prompt. When do I feel most confident? And what beliefs support that feeling? He comes back the next session and says, I realized I feel most confident when I'm mentoring newer employees. It's like I forget about proving myself and just focus on helping. Boom. That one journal entry becomes a turning point. Now, instead of abstractly working on confidence, you're anchoring his strategy in something concrete: mentorship. That's coaching gold. Why is this so effective? Because journaling gives your client space. Space to hear their own voice. Space to reflect without pressure. Space to untangle the thoughts that get jumbled up in everyday life. From a psychological standpoint, it taps into metacognition, the ability to think about your own thinking. And metacognition is what turns "I feel stuck" into, oh, I see what's going on. Plus, writing activates different parts of the brain than speaking or thinking. It literally helps the brain process and organize emotions, beliefs, and insights in a more integrated way. Now, let me share a little behind the scenes tip from my own coaching experience of them. Clients love structure, but they also resist anything that feels like school. So here's how I frame it. Hey, this week I've got a couple of reflection prompts I think could spark some insights. Totally up to you how you use them. Write long answers, bullet points, voice notes, whatever works. Let's just use them as a conversation starter next time. That way, it's not a chore, it's an invitation. If you want to go the extra mile, create a weekly reflection worksheet with 3 to 5 prompts your clients can use on repeat. Keep it light, customizable, and friendly looking. You're not creating a test. You're creating a tool for clarity light. And just to keep things real, sometimes clients don't do the journaling. That's okay. Don't guilt trip them. Instead, ask, what came up when you thought about the prompts? Often, even the intention to reflect is enough to get the wheels turning. So, to recap, journaling prompts aren't busy work. They're breakthrough tools. When you use them right, they help your clients show up more self-aware, more empowered, and more ready to create change. Ready to go deeper? Let's move into our next tool, one that doesn't just encourage reflection, it uncovers the invisible patterns driving your client's behavior. Let's explore one of the most revealing and empowering journaling tools in your entire coaching toolkit: pattern tracking journals. This one's especially powerful when your client is trying to shift a habit, understand their emotional triggers, or finally figure out why they keep repeating the same self-sabotaging behaviors. Because here's the truth: most people don't see their patterns. They live inside them. It's like asking a fish to describe water. It's just the background hum of their everyday life. But when you help your client track what's happening, those invisible patterns come into sharp focus. So how does this actually work? Instead of telling your client to be more mindful or pay attention, you give them a structured log to fill out daily, just for a few days or a week. This log becomes their own behavioral data set. And once you've got data, you've got insight. And insight? That's the start of transformation. Let's say you're coaching someone, let's call him Jordan, who wants to stop procrastinating. He keeps missing deadlines, feeling guilty, and promising to do better next time, but nothing's changing. You give them a 7-day pattern tracking journal with these daily prompts. What task did I avoid today? What was happening right before I avoided it? What thought or story came up? What did I do instead? How did I feel afterward? He does it for a week. And by day 5, a light bulb goes off. Every time he gets a critical email, he shuts down. His internal story? I'm going to mess this up anyway, so why even try? And that story leads straight to procrastination. That's a pattern, a cycle. And now that it's visible, it's coachable. Instead of guessing or generalizing, you now have something concrete to work with. You can help him reframe the story, build tolerance for discomfort, and take small, courageous actions in the moments that matter. Why does this work? Because we don't change what we can't see. Pattern tracking gives clients the missing link between their behavior and the emotional or mental cue that triggers it. And once they can see the cycle, they have a choice. And that choice? That's where coaching thrives. Neuroscience backs this up. Habit loops are formed by a cue routine reward structure. Journaling helps clients identify the cue, what triggered me, the routine, what did I do, and the reward, how did I feel? Once those pieces are visible, they can experiment with changing the routine without losing the emotional payoff. So let's talk implementation. If your client is working on anything habit related, like confidence, productivity, boundaries, mindset, you can create a simple tracker that fits their goal. It could be digital or printable, and it should only take a couple minutes a day to complete. Here's what you include: a space for the event or trigger, the thought that came up, the action they took, the result or emotional outcome. And at the end of the week, you guide them through these reflection questions. What patterns do you notice? What situations trigger the same response? What thoughts or stories repeat most often? Where would you like to shift this cycle? This is where the real gold emerges. You're not guessing, you're decoding. And just to bring a little coach confession to the party for us, I once had a client fill out a pattern tracker and realized she was starting fights with her partner every time she had a big career breakthrough. Her journal showed this weird little dance she hadn't seen before. Get good news, pick a fight, feel emotionally drained. Why? Because on some level, success made her feel guilty. That realization, game changer. So if you're ready to help your clients break free from cycles they don't even know they're stuck in, give them this tool. Keep it structured, keep it brief, and keep it judgment-free. Next up, we'll explore how journaling can help clients reconnect with something deeper than goals or habits. It's about their values. And when values are clear, everything else starts to align. Let's talk about one of the most grounding and often overlooked journaling tools in your coaching toolkit, the Values Alignment Journal. Because sometimes the problem your client is facing isn't a lack of effort, strategy, or motivation. It's that their actions and their values are out of sync. They're doing all the right things, setting goals, hitting targets, keeping busy, but they feel drained, uninspired, or quietly resentful, and they can't figure out why. That's where this tool comes in. The Values Alignment Journal helps your client reconnect with what actually matters to them, not just what they've been told should matter. And when values and actions start to align, that's when real fulfillment shows up. Here's the coaching truth. When a client's goals aren't anchored in their values, they start to feel like they're chasing someone else's version of success. But when they get clear on what they truly care about and start making decisions from that place, everything changes. Let's break down how to use this. Start with this journaling prompt. Describe a moment when you felt most alive, proud, or connected. What were you doing? Who were you with? What values were being honored in that moment? Then flip it. Describe a moment when you felt frustrated, depleted, or misaligned. What values might have been ignored or violated? Just those 2 questions can spark massive clarity. Here's a fictional coaching story that might sound familiar. Your client, Layla, has been hustling to scale her business. She's hitting her goals, bringing in revenue, and from the outside, it looks like everything's working. But she's exhausted, restless, stuck in a cycle of pushing harder and feeling less satisfied. You give her this journal prompt. She writes about a moment when she felt deeply fulfilled, traveling solo, working from a cafe in Lisbon, no schedule, no pressure. The value, freedom. Then she writes about how she's been feeling lately. Overscheduled, overcommitted, boxed in, and it hits her, all this growth is pulling her away from her core value. She's chasing achievement, but what she truly craves is spaciousness. That insight shifts her entire business model. She stops saying yes to every opportunity. She reworks her offers to allow more flexibility. And for the first time in months, she actually feels excited again. Why is this so powerful? Because most clients never stop to ask, is this goal even mine? They chase status, money, or recognition because they think that's what success is supposed to look like. But deep down, if it doesn't match their values, it won't feel satisfying, no matter how successful they become. As a coach, your job is to help them find their definition of success. And values are the compass for that. From a psychological lens, values are like emotional GPS coordinates. When we align our actions with our values, we feel congruent, authentic, energized. But when we stray from them, even small decisions can feel heavy and off. So how do you make this part of your coaching process? You can introduce the values alignment journal at key decision points, career changes, big goals, burnout moments. Ask your client to reflect monthly on 2 simple questions. Where did I honor my values this month? Where did I go off track? This keeps their inner compass aligned without needing a full reset every time something feels off. And here's a coach confession for you, Story. I once spent 6 months building a program I thought would be a massive win. It was strategic, scalable, sexy on paper. But it bombed because I hated delivering it. Turns out it violated one of my core values, depth. I love deep transformation, not surface level strategy. That lesson, learned the hard way. And now I journal on values every quarter. It keeps me honest. So don't underestimate this tool. It's not fluffy, it's foundational. And when your client reconnects with their values, their decisions become easier. Their motivation becomes intrinsic. And their confidence, it skyrockets. Not because they're doing more, but because they're doing what's right for them. All right, ready for the final journaling tool? This last one ties everything together by turning reflection into a consistent, empowering ritual. Let's bring it all home with a simple yet incredibly powerful practice, the weekly reflection ritual. Now, this tool might not sound glamorous, but don't let that fool you. It's one of the most high leverage habits your client can adopt. Because here's what happens in coaching all the time. Clients are growing, they're making progress, but week to week, they can't always see it. They get caught in the weeds. They focus on what's still not working. They forget just how far they've come. That's where the weekly reflection ritual comes in. It creates a pause, a checkpoint, a moment of perspective that turns scattered progress into a visible growth path. Here's how it works. At the end of each week, your client answers 5 simple journaling prompts. What were my wins this week? What challenges did I face? And how did I respond? What did I learn about myself? What do I want to focus on next week? How am I feeling mentally, emotionally, and physically? That's it. 5 questions, 10 minutes. And the result, massive clarity. Let's break down why this tool matters so much. First, it helps clients track momentum. Even if it's been a rough week, there's almost always something to celebrate. A tiny win, a new insight, a conversation they would have avoided a month ago. Second, it builds resilience. Instead of seeing challenges as failures, they start seeing them as feedback. Growth becomes less about perfection and more about progress. And third, it strengthens self-awareness. Because the more your client reflects, the more intentional they become. Let's walk through a quick fictional story. You're coaching a client named Marcus. He's been working on building confidence, but every week he says the same thing: I don't feel like I'm making progress. So you introduce the weekly reflection ritual. After 3 weeks of journaling, Marcus reads back over his entries, and suddenly he sees it. He spoke up in a meeting. He had a hard conversation with his sister. He finally applied to that leadership program he's been eyeing for months. None of it felt like a big moment at the time. But through reflection, it becomes a narrative, a story of steady, undeniable growth. That's what this tool does. It turns scattered effort into a cohesive journey. Now, from a neuroscience perspective, this ritual activates your brain's reward system. Every time your client acknowledges progress or learning, they get a little dopamine hit. That positive reinforcement helps the habit stick and the mindset shift solidify. And let's be real, modern life moves fast. Without rituals like this, most people bulldoze right over their growth without even noticing it. So how do you introduce it to clients? Keep it simple. You can offer a printable or digital worksheet. Frame it as a self-leadership tool, not just for coaching, but for life. And here's a little coach confessional. I started doing this practice during one of my busiest seasons ever. At first, it felt like one more thing to do. But by week 2, I realized I wasn't just capturing insights. I was recalibrating, recentering, reconnecting with why I do this work in the first place. It became my favorite 10 minutes of the week. So here's your action step. Offer this to your clients as a weekly ritual. Use it in your coaching sessions or have them complete it before each call. And if you're not already doing it yourself, Start now. Because when you lead by example, your clients follow more confidently. All right, let's wrap this up with a powerful takeaway you can carry into your week. Let's wrap this all up with a reflection and a challenge. Here's what I hope you take away from today's episode. Journaling and reflection aren't just nice to haves for coaches. They're power tools. They give you and your clients the clarity, insight, and emotional awareness needed to create real transformation, not just temporary motivation. Let's recap the 5 tools we explored. The Coach's Self-Reflection Journal, to help you grow after every session and sharpen your instincts over time. Client journaling prompts, to help your clients generate breakthroughs between sessions and show up more self-aware. Pattern tracking journals, to uncover the invisible cycles driving thoughts, feelings, and behavior. Values alignment journals, to help clients reconnect with what truly matters so their goals have meaning. The weekly reflection ritual, to track progress, celebrate wins, and keep the growth journey visible and motivating. Each of these tools gives you a way to pause, reflect, and realign with yourself, your purpose, and your clients. They don't require fancy apps or hours of your time, just intention, just consistency. And the best part? When you model these practices, your clients feel it. You stop coaching from burnout or self-doubt and start coaching from presence and purpose. That's when your sessions go from good to transformational. So here's your takeaway challenge. Pick one journaling tool from today's episode and try it this week. Just one. Maybe you create a post-session reflection habit. Maybe you send a client a journaling prompt that could spark a shift. Maybe you do your own values journaling to check in with what's driving you right now. Start small, but start now. Because the only difference between a coach who burns out and a coach who thrives is how often they reflect and realign. You've got this. Thanks so much for tuning in. And here's to building a coaching practice that's not just effective, but deeply fulfilling.
Don't forget to head to transformationacademy.com toolbox to download the free Life Coaching Toolbox, which includes 18 coaching activities and essential resources. Plus, take our free coaching roadmap quiz, designed to help you discover which life coach certification or business training is the perfect fit for your passion, skills, and goals. We've helped nearly 1 million coaches around the world find their path, and we'd love to help you find yours.